Welcome back to this channel to look at how to answer the AQA GCSE history questions for paper 1, Understanding the Modern World. This video is going to start to look at the knowledge questions. The first knowledge question you get is the easiest. It's a 4-mark question and it looks like this. It'll say describe two problems and then something else, in this case faced by Presidents Kennedy and Johnson in dealing with the civil rights protests during the 1960s. Now, we should always remember with a 4-mark question that we need one paragraph and it should take us 5 minutes. In fact, if we can be quicker than 5 minutes, because there's no source to read, which should mean that we can just focus on the question. So, the start of the question will always say describe two problems. That means that you need to write with detail about two problems. As you can see in the mark scheme, it wants knowledge and understanding. So you show knowledge by naming two problems, and you show your understanding by saying why they are problems. So let's look at this question in detail. The first thing I want you to draw your attention to is the date. It's really important that you pay attention to the date and you make sure that your answer sticks within those dates. So this one says the 1960s. So you need to make sure in your answer that you're not mentioning things like the Montgomery bus boycott, Brown versus the Board of Education, because all that happened in the 1950s. And then you need to brainstorm, and you'll do this in your head, well, what problems did President Kennedy and Johnson face dealing with civil rights protest? And here's some ideas. So you've got the federal system, which is the system where there's a central government in the United States and states government, and it's difficult for the central government, the president, to interfere in states' rights. You've got people like Bull Connor during Bloody Sunday, who is incredibly violent towards civil rights protesters. You've got the actions of the police and the courts in the southern states which deny rights to the civil rights protesters. You have the issue of electoral popularity. Remember, in many ways America's split down the middle. It's a divided country during much of the 1960s, with people that want to keep Jim Crow and people that want to get rid of Jim Crow. And making it more difficult for the president is that up until 1964 there's no civil rights legislation to protect the civil rights protesters in the South. So once you've done the brainstorm, you are ready to answer. And the way that you're going to structure this answer, remember, it's one paragraph, but you want to bring in two problems, is to use this dead simple structure. So the first thing you want to do is to identify a problem. Then you want to describe why it's a problem. And then you want to give an example of when that problem took place, which will get you 3 marks, and then you do the same again for another problem that will get you those 4 dead simple, dead quick marks. So here's an answer that you could give. So first thing we do is we identify the problem. So the first problem is the federal system, clearly identified using the words of the question. Then you need to describe why it's a problem. So it's a problem because states leaders like Bull Connor could deal with the protesters in a bad way, which makes it hard for the government to support the protesters. You'll notice as well that by mentioning Bull Connor in Alabama, I'm using an example in my description, which is a really good way of including your evidence. Then the second problem, identify the problem and then describe why it's a problem. Dead simple, 4 marks. Easy peasy. So then to recap, it's a dead simple answer. You just need to make sure that you revise, identify a problem, describe why it's a problem and give it an example. Do that twice, 4 marks, job done, move on. Thanks very much. If you would like any more exam advice, keep an eye out on my channel for more videos on exam technique. Thank you.